Welcome to the Cash Confident Podcast. I'm Brie Sedano, your fearless host, personal finance expert, and the visionary behind the revolutionary Cash Confident community. Hello. You are here for the Cash Confident Podcast today, and we are talking about the astonishing power of directional focus. Now, that is a mouthful, which I fully understand. But that's what we're going to get into today, because this is one of the most powerful ways to use your attention. And I'm over the moon to talk about this, because I think that directional focus is a skill that if you can direct your focus on purpose with intention in the direction of the goals that you want to achieve, or the places that you want to go, or the things that you want to create, you are an infinitely more powerful person. And so I'm going to teach you a little bit about the astonishing power of directional focus. And I'm going to also just throw out there, shameless plug, that I'm teaching a masterclass on this exact topic on February 17th. So I will put a link to the Astonishing Power of Directional Focus masterclass in the show notes for you if this topic piques your interest and you want the full masterclass. But today I'm going to teach you some really cool stuff that you can apply. And then to go deeper on the topic, you can join the masterclass, which will happen February 17th. And there will be a recording in case you're not available that day. All right. So let's just go ahead and get into this. So I want to tell you a story. I'm going to open this up with a story. And I have many, many stories about this, but I was working with a client who is a doctor, and he came to see me because he really wanted to increase the size of his practice. He wanted to increase his revenue, and he sells a kind of interesting service, right? It's not typical for what you would expect, but he works magic for his his patients. Like, he's doing really, really good work. He's just got a methodology, that he uses. And so he's doing some marketing. And so he comes to see me, and I was like, all right, well, the marketing would work and then would not work. And then there was just all of this up and down, this like start and stop momentum. And this was actually one of the clients where I really saw this astonishing power of direction so clearly, because I'm watching this happen, and I'm helping this man as he's doing this work. So here's how his revenue would go. I'm going to just explain the roller coaster in its fullness. So he would get a little tight on cash, and the scarcity would motivate him to do a little bit more marketing, do a little bit more sales, get his calendar full, have his team send out emails, right? And then the clients would come in, but there would be things that maybe like weren't exactly right. Like, maybe he was getting calls on the calendar for people wanting his services, but the patients weren't exactly right, or they didn't have the money, or something was going on. And then he would shift his focus. So once the money came in from the work that he would do, he would shift his focus to everything that was wrong. Everything that was wrong with the clients, everything that was wrong with the marketing, everything that was wrong with the emails. And then his income would dip, and then we would be right back to where we started, which was then he would need some money, and the scarcity would motivate him to do this. And he'd been doing this for years, this exact same thing for years before he hired me. And so there was this up and down aspect to his revenue, and the same up and down aspect actually was applying to like his emotional state and his level of activity. Like, his level of activity would move up and down, and then the revenue would move up and down, but his mood would also move up and down. And so what I realized, and when I was working with this client, was that when he had really nothing to lose, when he had to get his stuff together, he would focus really on what he wanted. But once he had what he wanted, he was so used to being in survival mode, right? He was so used to not having enough that he would go back to not having enough. And then then the money would drop, and then he'd be back in survival mode, and then he would have nothing to lose. And then he would, scoot his income back up with his efforts. So this is just to demonstrate the way that this kind of plays out in real life, right? This is a concept that is ethereal. It's an invisible thing, right? It's invisible. But here's what I know about focus. What you focus on grows. That's a pretty common adage that you will hear in the personal development space. What you focus on grows. Where you invest your energy, like, increases. There's an ROI on that, even if you're investing in scarcity. Like, you will see the fruit from whatever you're investing in, even if that's things that you don't want to be investing in, right? Like, so here's what I know about focus. So focus directs our energy. And so that's like our invisible asset, right? Like your energy, what you put your energy in is your invisible asset. Focus also directs our conscious level of attention, which I'm going to say them separately, even though there's a lot of overlap. But your focused attention also leads your mood. It leads your vibration. It leads how you feel about it, right? Like if I said to you right now, think of a person who you are in a close relationship with. And if I said to write down every wonderful thing about them, everything about them that you love, everything about them that is magical to you, all of the reasons that you love to talk to or be with this person, you're going to feel drastically different than if I said, tell me all the things that they've ever done that have pissed you off. Tell me everything that they could do better. Tell me every place that they are insufficient in some way. You're going to feel real different making those two lists. And that's the power of that focus. It will change your state, right? And so on that first thing, you're probably going to feel open. You're going to feel like lovey-dovey. You're going to want to send them a little text to just like appreciate them. And if you make a list of everything that's wrong with them, you're probably going to feel stank. You're probably going to feel you're going to feel underappreciated. You're going to feel bad, right? So that's the way that this focus works. Now, mood impacts our decision making a lot. Like, we don't like to admit it and we like to think that we're logical creatures, but I'm telling you, I've been observing people real up close for the last 10 years. And I can tell you that your emotional state impacts your decision making more than your mind could even dream of, right? So that's another thing about focus. So when we have our focus in a direction, it starts to impact our mood. Now, also, that impacts like basically just the way that we observe the world. It impacts the opportunities that we see and the way that we feel about those things, right? And this gets into our actions, right? So you can kind of follow this. So what starts as the astonishing power of focus very quickly becomes our mood, our worldview, our actions. And so learning to keep your attention on the things that you want while withdrawing that focus from the things that you don't want is one of the most powerful things that you can do. Now, this is a skill that you can use in your money manifestations, but and you're growing your business, in your career, but it's also a skill that you can use like in your love life or with your friends or in your relationship with your body or anything else, right? So I'm gonna give you a little bit of just a little tip. Now, if you decide to come to the masterclass, if the masterclass is for you, we're gonna dive deep into this, and I'm gonna teach you much more context. But I'm gonna give you a little tip today because I want you to come away with something that you can use. So I'm going to use this example in the form of scarcity and abundance because I think this is going to be most clear. So most people who are listening to this podcast are coming to see me for money stuff, right? And so we're going to talk about scarcity and then we're going to talk about abundance. Now, I want you to realize that scarcity is the lack of money. We're going to just do this in the context of money, although you could have scarcity, in your time or in your health or anything else. We're going to talk about money today. So scarcity is on one side, and let's just say abundance is on the other side, and they're opposites, right? So it's like the lack of money and the abundance of money. It's opposites. Now I want you to take your head and literally turn your whole head toward the left and just imagine that scarcity is over there. And I want you to use your focus to direct your thoughts towards scarcity. And this could be your regular old mental chatter about money. Most of us can instantly work ourselves into scarcity. We don't have to try too hard. So you could think about how much money you're going to need. You could think about how much debt you have. You could think about the price of groceries going up and how you're not able to afford things, right? And all of us could go here. So just take a few seconds and just use your focus to go in that direction. Now, when I go in that direction, I immediately feel my body tighten up. I can feel a pit form in my stomach. I can feel a heat in my chest. I can feel like I'm attuned to energy. I can feel my energy close down a little bit. I can feel my entire self constrict, right? When I move in that direction. Now, what we're going to do is I want you to take your focus and turn your head to the right. So literally turn your head to the right and think about all the things that are going well in your money, all of the things that are everything that you're handling with ease, all of the responsibilities that you're taking care of. I want you to think about the reliable money streams that you have. Count up your assets, count the value of your house and your car and your furniture and your artwork and, your 401k. Count up the value of everything that you've got, right? And feel into that and really notice that. And then notice the money that could be coming, future money, future paychecks, future clients coming to see you, future business deals, future properties. Just let your mind wander in that direction of abundance. Now, when I go in that direction, my mind opens up. I can see, I'm like, ooh, there's so many opportunities. Like my vision for what I'm seeing gets a little wider, right? And my body feels a little bit more relaxed when I think about that. It feels like something I could lean into, something I could trust. Like, oh yeah, of course this is all panning out, happening. Like, look at all this opportunity that's there. And it kind of takes some of the pressure off. Sometimes I personally get a little attached to the way that I want my dreams to manifest. But when I'm really in the abundance of it, I can see, oh my goodness, there's so many ways. There's so many possibilities here. And so I just want you to recognize with that little somatic movement, like a little body movement of turning the head to the left and turning the head to the right. What I want you to be able to do there is, so look, we're going to take this exact same skill and I'm going to apply it to something. So let's just imagine you're in a situation where you maybe are wanting a new job. So if we look at your job and we turn our head to the left, we think about all the things we don't like about our job. And we think about this new job and we turn our head to the right. Now, most of us, what we do is we turn our head to the left. We turn our left to the new job that we want while we're looking at the job that we have. And we get really, really muddy because we're like, well, I don't want to have to work this many hours and I don't want it to be disrespected and I don't want to be underappreciated and I don't want this. But we're the way that the universe works and the way that our own selves work, the way that our mind works is we're really programming ourselves for the things that we don't want when we're focusing our attention on them. So it's a double-sided thing. It's like the universal forces, but also you and your own human forces are basically, we're looking in the direction of where we don't want to go. Right? And so listen, every single person does this. And so I'm going to give you this little tip. So look at when you catch yourself. Let's just say in the example of getting the new job, you're looking toward the left at your current job and all the things that you don't like. I want you to literally take your entire head and turn your entire face to the right and be like, this is the direction that I'm going. This is the direction I need to be looking. These are the things that I do want. I do want to feel appreciated in my work. I do want to feel valued. I do want to be paid properly. I do want, a space for my plants. I do want flexibility in my hours. This is what I do want. And your mind is going to want to go back to what you don't want because you're in that reality currently, right? You're there. You're in there. And so just be aware that you can just refocus. So take your attention literally, and I would turn your head because there's something so powerful about adding your body into this, because your body has a different level of communication with your brain than your mind just does talking to itself. So again, when you're focused on what you don't want, just say to yourself, I'm focused in the direction I don't want to be going. And then literally turn your head and refocus your attention. Right? So when we're focused on the scarcity and the fear or the doubt or whatever's coming up, just be like, wow, I'm focusing on what I don't want right now. And I'm going to turn my focus toward getting new clients or getting a raise or doing the thing or, whatever's there. So I just want to teach that one little trick to you, because that little trick has saved me so much heartache. Like, I use that little trick on myself like once a day. And it's something I teach to my clients, and adding that little somatic bit of learning to when you're focused on the things that you don't like and you don't want, and just being like, ooh, there's information here that I'm going to take, and I'm going to put, that the information that I do want into the other side, right? So it's that literal movement of your head and your body from the left side to the right side. That's one little way to redirect your attention with the, and then really keep your focus there. And then when you have your focus on what you want, you're so much more clear. Like, when people I talk to people all day, and people will often tell me what they don't want, but there's almost nothing that anybody could do to work with that. So if you said, let's just let's just take a different example so you can see how silly this is. Let's just say we're in the kitchen together, and I'm going to teach you how to make anything that you want with your kitchen, right? I'm going to teach, let's just imagine. And you said to me, well, I don't want a chicken. And I'm going to be like, okay, well, what do you want? And you're like, I don't want to put salt and pepper on that chicken. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, what do you want? And you're like, well, I don't want turnips. I'm like, okay, cool. There's nothing for us to do. There's nothing for us to act on. So when you're in that stage of knowing what you don't want, that's a really important part about knowing what you do want. So don't rush through that phase. There's nothing wrong with just becoming aware of what you don't want. But once you say to me, I want to make a cheesecake, then I'm like, all right, cool. I can teach you how to make a cheesecake. I actually make a great cheesecake. But that's some of the things. So a lot of times when people are like, well, I don't want to work this many hours. Well, I don't want to get paid this amount. I'm like, all right, well, what do you want? And so oftentimes we're focused on what we don't want. And listen, again, I want to just reiterate that that's an important part of the process. It's an important part of clarity. Knowing what you don't want really does help you to know what you do want. Abraham Hicks says that all the time, if you've ever listened to her work. But that's one of the things. So I want to teach you. So when you're looking at what you don't want, just become aware of it and be like, wow, I'm really facing my attention and my focus. I'm really growing what I don't want. I'm going to turn my entire head and I'm going to refocus on what I do want. So that's my little tip and my little trick for you. I hope that I get to see you on February 14th. You can check the show notes for the link to the masterclass. All right. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you learned something good. Share this with all your friends. Write me reviews. Comment on my Facebook posts. That's what I want. Bye, everybody.